You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, True Chiro, the Social Health Experts Summit, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, and Chiro Moguls. Let's hustle. This is DC to B edition of the Chiro Hustle live stream, and today's sponsor is Zingit Solutions. It's over there. Thank you to Steve Weber and his team for doing such a great job. I have Bennett, Wilcox, Patterson with me today. I'm going to just flash up Zingit Solutions website on the bottom of the screen. So if you guys want to reach out to Steve and his team and get a better optimization between how you communicate to your audience, which is your patient base, and it's just an amazing system. So ZingitSolutions.com. But today we're going to talk about, is chiropractic on a mission? And I think there's going to be some really fun stuff. I have stuff lined up with Bennett today that he's going to be able to ask me a couple questions on around. We're going to do some advice for students on around. So as you guys watch this, you're going to get more information on missions, what it is to be a student and where it's going for Bennett, and a little bit more about why it's important to show up to seminars. But Bennett, you're coming in from the DFW area, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. And I am in Grand Junction, which is in the Grand Valley of Ware on the western slope, which over here where no one lives, and I moved here to hear the birds chirp. But I'm just going to dive right into this with you, Bennett. First topic on our agenda today is we're going to talk about spinal missions. And let's talk about this group that you're getting together with Dr. Shannon Darrow and with Dr. Dave Tran, and what's going on behind the scenes right now. And let's just spill the beans to everybody out there.
All right, so we got some pretty big things working with Spinal Missions. First of all, I want to thank Shannon because I found out 3 days ago I've actually been made a board member of Spinal Missions, and I'm the only student on that board, which is kind of huge. And one of the big things that we're working on is a Jamaica trip. And so that's going to be December 27th through January 1st. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to kind of combine a seminar aspect with a mission trip. So the goal is to get big docs from all around the world to fly in, and really to have over 100 students to get there. And the main focus is we're going to be able to pick these docs' brain. I say that's actually going to be my first trip as a doc, so that'll be interesting. But you're going to have complete and total access to these docs, and it's going to be one of those deals where you ask them anything, and it's like a no BS type deal. Because one thing I found as a student, you hear a lot in school of what you can't do, and but you do get what you can do. And one thing that I've noticed is that as students, we kind of get, I got kind of depressed when I was going through, because there's a lot of stuff that we're told that we can't help with, we can't do anything with. But then I have my mentors. I got Dr. Mark Charette, Dr. Tim Young, Dr. Billy DeMoss, and they remind me, they're like, Bennett, everybody has a spine. That's the thing that everybody has. And that's the thing that you work with. You work with the spine, and you work with all the joints in the body. So to say that no one can be helped through chiropractic, that's not an accurate statement in my opinion, personally, because I've seen things where I'm not supposed to be able to help with them, yet on mission trips, I've been able to help and do some pretty miraculous things with these hands. So, one of those things.
Yeah, so I didn't even ask you this as we were getting our pre-interview chat going, but how many mission trips have you been on?
So I have been on 5 mission trips so far. I've been to El Salvador 4 times, and I've been to Haiti once. Went on my first mission trip right after Try 3. And so I went to Haiti with Dr. Morgan, Dr. Peter Morgan. And then after that, I switched over to Spinal Missions because I kind of identified with them more. And Shannon and I had a long talk. We really got together, and we found that we had a similar goal. And so I went one time to El Salvador, and from then on, I've been hooked. I've only missed one mission trip, and I didn't go this past Christmas because my mom was like, going to be home during the break this time, or yeah, do I get to see you? And I was like, all right, I'll take off some time for the family. So
Yes. So let's talk about, I know you mentioned that you've seen stuff happening while you're out there serving. Let's talk about a couple of miracle stories that you've seen.
okay, so first time when I went to Haiti, I had a mom bring me her baby. And so the people out there are amazing. They're some of the happiest people you ever see. And like, you really see the difference in how privileged we are here in America, because these people are building their houses out of mud and bricks that they make themselves. And then when something comes through and knocks them down, they rebuild them. And so this mom brings me her child and says to me that the child's not eating, it's not going to the bathroom, and having trouble sleeping. And so what I do, I have her lay down, and the child lays down on the mom's stomach. As we're learned, for really young kids, you want to lay them down on their mom's stomach because it calms them. So I'm going through and I'm checking in. This kid's sacrum, man, it's what we call a left posterior sacral base, meaning the top of the sacrum is lifted up and is not going forward. And so think of a Coke can, and when you have a Coke can and you go opposite, the sacrum moves like this. And so this baby's sacrum was stuck like that, meaning this side could not move forward. And so what I did is I adjusted the kid's sacrum, then I went up and I adjusted the kid's atlas. So when you're adjusting a baby, you can't actually use a thrust because they haven't developed their bone structure yet to where they can handle a thrust. So all you do, you literally put your fingers up like this, and they'll lay their head back, and they'll actually do the adjustment for you. So after this was done, I told her to take the baby home, try to feed it that night, and see where we are, and then find us the next day. Well, the mom found me the next day and actually came up to me crying, had the child there, wasn't crying, and apparently had slept through the night, had like 5 bowel movements since she had seen me last, and had eaten. And so that was when it kind of clicked for me that this stuff works. And so that was my first one. And then my second one was on my last trip to El Salvador. We went up to a Catholic orphanage that we work with. And so this orphanage only takes in special needs children. And these are children, because in El Salvador, if they're really special needs and their parents can't take care of them or anything, they have to give their children away. And so we see hydrocephalic cases, we see encephalitis cases, swollen head. And so I actually got to see one of these cases where the baby's head, or I say baby, she was 26 years old, but her head was the size of an infant, and the rest of her body was the size of a normal 26-year-old. And so they have very delayed brain function. They're pretty much in a vegetative state. Like, they know you're there and they can make sounds, but they can't communicate, can't take care of themselves. So it's very hard on the people there. So we went in there, and this girl had a way of communicating, and she's having constant headaches. So I take her neck. I'm looking at her neck going through, and I find that her atlas is out on the left. And so I set it up, and I just do a baby thrust. And man, when I tell you that thing went off with like a gunshot, it was the loudest cavitation, which is the pops that you hear when you go through chiropractic and you get an adjustment. It was the loudest cavitation I've ever heard in my life. And she goes, and then after that, she just started smiling and laughing. And like, she just wanted everybody to hug her. And it was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen, if I'm being honest. Like, it was a life-changing experience for sure.
Well, see, I think some of these things are really important for our audience to hear. And if you guys are out there and you're finding value in this, hashtag value in the comments there. And if you would just hit the share button or give us some hearts or some thumbs up. I know that those stories there are going to touch a lot of lives if more people hear them. And that's the power of the chiropractic adjustment. And that's something that, I've, really believed in. And that's one of the things that brings us together today is, the chiropractic mission matters. And it's not just the mission trip, but it's the tone of the mission of chiropractic, and that's to get more people checked for vertebral subluxation and adjusted. And I think that if necessary, they always say, but I think if anybody goes to a chiropractor and they get checked, you're not like, oh, bro, you're good.
Yeah. I've been seeing patients since August of last year, and I have yet to find someone that was completely and totally in line.
Oh,
Not
bro,
saying
you're
it
good.
won't happen, but
I don't know if
but
there's that much
yeah,
going on. I
yeah,
mean, out of all the work that I did in a chiropractic office, I only saw an X-ray of one perfect spine.
yeah, exactly.
So
There,
the perfect are an anomaly. So everybody needs
mhm.
to get checked, because if we're saying the anomaly is the perfect, then we need to make sure everybody's getting checked, because that means that most people have some type of subluxation going on. So, okay. Next thing, here's the round of student information and student advice. You got into the program. What were you thinking?
Well, this is going to be the interesting part. So, I was a strength and conditioning coach before I came to chiropractic school, and I knew I didn't want to live in a gym for the rest of my life. So, I wanted to get into med school. And so I was told that my GPA at the time was not high enough for med school, and I needed to do something else to boost my resume so that I would get in. So I was like, all right,
By the
well,
way, that's pretty common.
yeah. I was like, all right, well, let's go to chiropractic school. And so I was like, then I can be a doctor before I go to med school. And so I get into chiropractic school, and they're telling me about all these things and all these miracles that happen from just moving the spine. I'm like, you're full of crap. No, that's not what happens. You got to take medicine. You got to take a pill. There's a reason why we have drugs and pharmaceutical companies, and there's a reason why it works. But as I've gotten through the program and as I've gone on these mission trips and seen the miracles that happen, I've realized true health doesn't come from outside the body. Your body is made perfectly. You are made in God's image, for those of us who are Christians and believe it. So I believe that if I'm made in his image, I should be able to find a way to heal myself in everything except to the most extreme cases. Now, everything has its place. Medical doctors are awesome. They try to do the best they can. We do the best we can. The key here is to be able to work together. And so as I've gone through the program, I've seen more and more to where we can help keep people out of an MD's office or out of a crisis situation, to where they only have to go in for their once every 6 month checkup for their MD, or they can avoid a surgery completely. And that in the end makes everybody happy, because I can tell you surgeons don't want to do surgery unless it's necessary, because it's not fun going in there and cutting on a bone. My uncle has been a surgeon for the last, I don't even know how many years. He was a plastic surgeon and a general surgeon. And he says that he only wanted to do surgery when it was medically necessary, because if there's not a reason to cut someone open, you shouldn't mess with something that's don't fix something that's not broken.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. As you've been going through the program and as you've been developing these ideas and these skill sets and this mission-driven personality, what are maybe like two things that you would tell every chiropractic student from your experiences that they should pay attention to while going through a program?
Get into the philosophy, get into the green books. There's a lot of people that say that that's outdated. I think that it's a good foundation and that we can build upon there. So make sure you're hitting your philosophy hard, but then don't forget that there is science and there is research to back up what we do now. So get the best from both worlds. And if you can have a strong philosophy base and know in your heart that what you're doing is going to help the person, and then back it up with science and the research to show them, there's no one who can tell you what you're doing is wrong, honestly, in my opinion. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is be open and always say yes. Tim Young told me the first time I met him, I was in try 2 or 3, and he said, be a yes man while you're in school. He's like, you want opportunities that no one else is going to have? Be a yes man. Always say yes. Always volunteer for that seminar that's coming into town. always be at the doctor's talks, always go shadow, because the more exposure and the more you put yourself out there, the more the world and the universe is going to send back to you. It's gotten me to where I'm an instructor for Dr. Charette in his seminars. I get to help Dr. Young put on his seminars here in DFW. I'm a speaker at Focus this year. Like, it's opened up so many doors for me that I wouldn't have had otherwise. That, man, when I started putting myself out there and started inviting the universe and inviting God to send me opportunities, man, he didn't just send me a couple, he flooded it. So
yeah, that's cool, man. It's really cool to hear your pure nature story. And I think that sometimes people don't really realize that what the real struggle is to become that DC. So let me ask you this. Are you the first DC in your family?
I am. Yes, sir.
See,
First
and
generation.
that's a huge effect on the future of now your family line, because now there's going to be somebody that comes up that sees you becoming a successful chiropractor, just like you saw your uncle becoming a successful doctor. Now you're able to see that if you do this type of if a chiropractor becomes successful, now they have the ability to influence so many people's lives, and then they influence the people that are closest to them. You know, when we first made our first film, Bennett, which was Chiropractic the documentary, I jumped into it, and I knew that what I was going to do is share the secret of chiropractic and the truth of chiropractic with people. And then I sent it to my mom. I sent it to my aunts. I sent it to my brothers. Honestly, dude, my brother's like, oh, I found a chiropractor now. I'm going to get adjusted regularly. My mom was like, oh, I'm going back to Palmer now. My cousin sent me a message saying you inspired your Aunt Betty to go back to the chiropractor because of your movie. And I'm like, the people that are hardest to influence are the ones closest to us. So knowing that we had an impact on people with our first film, and knowing that, you know, the chiropractic voice is being heard now, seeing what you're doing on this level and actually saying yes to things, that was one of the reasons why we actually have this interview today, because we were at a seminar, Tim Young, his Oklahoma City Focus event, and, you know, we met there. So the next thing I kind of wanted to go down the rabbit trail with you on is why is it important for chiropractic students to show up to seminars?
The big reason it's important for you to go to a seminar is because you're going to be exposed to things that you'll never be exposed to in school. Schools have a curriculum that they have to teach according to the Chiropractic Education Board. They have to go by it. Even if they want to teach something else, they have to make sure they squeeze in what the CEs are saying that they have to do. So it's not their fault that they can't teach you everything you need to know.
So I'm going to interrupt quick. So what you're saying is you're not getting everything that you need from school.
Absolutely not. And anyone who tells you do.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, True Chiro, the Social Health Experts Summit, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, and Chiro Moguls. Let's hustle.
Yeah, so we're just gonna move on from that.
But that's a part of the storyline. Is that if you're a student and you're going through the program to get more connected, you need to show up to places like Cal Jam. You need to show up to places like Focus Oklahoma City. You need to show up to places like, you know, New Beginnings. You need to show up to places like Chiro Sushi. You need to show up to places like Mile High and the Berkshires and, you know, Chiro Fest. I mean, you need to show up to these places in order to meet the people that are going to help propel your future. And I think that building relationships with people is really the fundamental of success.
Yeah. Now, our school is different in this way that we have Parker seminars that we do. And so one opportunity that they give us once a year is they throw Parker seminars in Dallas. And so they actually shut the school down for 2 days. And you, to get your attendance, you have to go to the seminar. And you have to go listen to the speakers, and you go and you take notes and you figure out what you're doing. So that's one way that our school's awesome in connecting us with stuff. The because they give us that opportunity. But the thing with that is you can't just go to one seminar. You need to be going to seminars all year, because one of the things that I've found is I get bogged down and I get tired at school, man. Like this is the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, like chiropractic school. And going to these seminars, talking with docs like Tim, talking with Billy, talking with Dr. Mark Charette, all of these guys, they kind of light a fire under your butt again. They're like, get through this now so you can change the world later. As I had an instructor in Tri 1 and 2. His name was Dr. Tom. And he said, live like no one else wants to for the next 3 years, so that for the rest of your life, you can live like no one else can. Mm-hmm. And I've really taken that, like, because, man, there are some days where I'm like, I could be working at a gym. I could own a freaking gym, and I could be doing what I want. But instead, I'm sitting here studying physiology and pathology for boys. So, So get through. What I tell students is get through school, get through the classes, make the grades you need to, but don't forget why you're there. You're there to become a chiropractor. You're there to learn to adjust. You're there to learn how to change people's lives. You get stuck in the books all the time, you'll get a rude awakening when you get to clinic. Let's say that. So.
And, something that you're saying there makes a lot of sense. And, building your community, but also staying connected and, paying attention to what you're doing as a professional, becoming the doctor, you're paying attention to what matters is to get to the point that you get the opportunity and the privilege to practice. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that the finish line is the opportunity and the privilege to practice. And it doesn't mean like straight off success. You don't just, jump in the pool and learn to swim. The chiropractor has to learn how to build a business and how to build their certainty with their hands. And I think that the two hands can set people free, but the chiropractor has to set themselves free first. And that's through building a network to build your certainty and to go listen to people that have done what you've done before you. So, that Oklahoma focus, that was a great honor for me to be there too, because that means that the leaders in the profession are saying, I like what you're doing, Jim Chester, please be a part of my tribe. And that gives me a lot of leverage to say, I know what we're doing kicks ass. I know it's helping people. And I know that people are paying attention to our message. By the way, I didn't want to like self-plug, but we are getting about 15,000 listens an episode now. So we are getting the message of chiropractic outside the four walls of chiropractic. Can I get an amen?
Amen, brother. And you gotta, for all the students watching and who are going to watch this, these two things that you have, these hands, they can change the world, but only if you believe that they can change the world. Because if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. Your mind sees success. What you speak into existence is going to be what happens. And if you believe you're going to be successful, you are. If you believe that you're going to come out of school and be in debt and you're going to struggle, guess what? You're going to struggle. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, let's transition a little bit here. That's a really good point too. It's all between the two temples is where you can go. And if you have a limiting belief system, then you're going to be limited. If you have a success belief system, you'll become more successful. Anyways, let's everybody out there watching right now, if you would do me a favor and Bennett a favor, and please hit the share button. Send us a message in the comments there. Tell us where you're watching in from, please, so we know where our audience is watching and who's connected to us. And if you find value in this conversation, hashtag value in the comments. And if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and go into there and hashtag replay so we know that you watched it after. If you have questions for us about spinal missions, send us a direct message to either Bennett or myself. We'll be able to help you out with that.
Also, Shannon Darrow. Also, you can message Shannon Darrow. She's very good at responding.
Or Dave Tran. And here's another message from Dr. Shannon. Get on a mission trip, on any mission trip. In clinic is not enough experience, or in clinic. Yeah, and I'm not a DC, so I don't have the healing hands, but we do have a great movement that we started, and Chiro Hustle is now rocking. And so as we continue this conversation, Bennett, I wanted to throw the mic to you, and I wanted you to have the stage for a little bit. And this is the bonus round, guys. So Bennett's going to ask me a couple questions, and I'm going to tell you guys some cool stuff that I have.
Yeah. So, Jim, from a from your perspective and doing all this marketing and learning the ropes and stuff, I know as a student, I've been having a lot of trouble getting in with businesses and getting in to these big events because I'm a student. What is some advice that you have for students trying to market themselves and bring in patients to clinic, and then just like for getting our name out there? Because that's something I am personally struggling with right now, and it's not something that I saw myself struggling when I was like looking at things that are going to be hard in clinic.
Well, I think marketing and selling are definitely components to success. As you were talking about this mindset, and you were talking about, your certainty with adjusting, and you're talking about your miracles of seeing what an adjustment can do. Now knowing that you have to have people that you can actually help and serve, that's a huge thing. And that's why I know that there's a lot of need for learning how to connect with your communities. Your sphere of influence is about 7 miles around your practice or your school. So you have to understand that different, cities will have different types of rules to that. Some cities like Chicago, you're going to only look in a 2-mile radius. So you have to know, kind of design who your ideal client is. And there's a resource I have in the comments up there that teaches people how to build a list and how to know how to get into their community better, how to set up events. I have scripting up there to where people can learn how to reach out to different businesses and set up events at different businesses. So there's a cheat sheet in the comments are in the description up top. I'll also put it in the comments after this is over. But I think the most important thing is to be willing to have a learning curve. And be willing to do, like you said, 3 years of hard work to live the dream of the rest of your life. And I think that when people think about marketing, it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be your ideal situation. There's always going to be something extra that you have to do. You're going to have to work 10 times more than you ever thought you would have to be able to go out there and to harvest your community for new patients. But once you get it, oh my God. That's the secret that I do for people and new patients in a box is I teach them how to get it faster. And I accelerate that learning curve for you. And what happens is you get access to me as an expert that did so many of these events and learn the correct way to communicate with the businesses, learn the correct way to communicate with the community. And I think that, hopefully that answers your question. But I think the most important thing is to just realize that there is an abundance of opportunities around you every day. And if you get yourself 15 to 20 events on your books every month, doing external events that I teach you, you'll never worry about a new patient again in your life. And yes, I think that that's the most important thing is to develop a system and a strategy and then launch yourself to success instead of what can I do, actually figure out what can't I do.
Yes, sir. All right. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Also, I saw that you just went to Grant Cardone's 10X and you learned a lot of stuff there. So what are 3 of the top books that you would recommend to students to look at in terms of not necessarily just as a marketing thing, but like as a self-development thing that we can go and read or get an audiobook to like give us some of that motivation that we don't get at a chiropractic seminar, that we don't get at school? Like what's some good reading material?
Well, I've been doing a better job at sticking to the books. So I just finished Tori Robeson's book. I don't know the title of the thing. I'll put the title in the comments, but it's amazing. He has a group called The Winner's Edge, and he teaches strategies. Like the things he said in that book, it was like a gut shot to chiropractic. And I was like, oh my God, somebody finally said the stuff that I want to say. Yeah. And it was really cool because I resonated with it on a deeper level. And the guy's like, if you guys don't know who Tori Robeson is, go listen to his episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. The guy's just blowing the doors off of success. So that book alone recently was really amazing. I'm into the digital media, digital marketing content creation world. So I just finished a book by Jeff Walker called Launch. It was referred to me by a bunch of people. But if you ever have the idea of creating a digital product and building affiliates and launching it and getting it to the next level, that book was really important for me to understand how to actually build a framework around what I like to do. And then, boy, I always tell people every year you should read How to Win Friends and Influence People and Think and Grow Rich. I mean, if you just read those two books every year and you didn't read anything else, you'd be doing yourself a favor.
Awesome. Thanks, man. All right. Well, I got one more question for you.
Cool. Then I'm on with Billy DeMoss talking about CalJam. So I'm going to rip with him. Same way you're getting opportunities to speak at Focus, I'm getting more opportunities to speak at cool places too.
That's awesome. What would you say to the student that's scared to do a Facebook Live? What would you say to them to like get over it and get out there? Because I know for me, initially being on camera scared the hell out of me. And how would you say to a student just to get over that?
You know, I think the most important thing for student mindset is find out what your voice is and who you want to connect with. And something that Russell Brunson teaches is to build your Dream 100. Make a list of 100 people that you want to connect yourself to. And then distill that down and decide if it is something, the format. Find out what your format that you want to accomplish with your Facebook Live. Is it a solo? You know, I like doing solos and I like doing interview. So is your messaging for the solo or is your messaging for the interview? And if it is for the interview, develop a strategy and a system and be consistent. And I think that those would be the best things. And, you know, one of my friends asked me, how'd you get so good at this interview stuff? I said, you do 300 of them, you'll get good too. It's kind of like you getting good at adjusting, Bennett. If you do 3,000 of them, you get pretty darn good too. So yes, I would say don't be afraid of it. Just the same way you don't want to be afraid of giving an adjustment. You just need to make sure you're prepared. So understanding who you want to connect with, build your Dream 100. That's 100 influencers out there that you think you would resonate with, that you want to become closer to. And then what that does is that builds your relationships. Because I will tell you that everybody that we've done an interview with, if I sent them a message like right now, they would respond to me. So you build more connection with your community when you pay attention to people. So I would tell everybody to just not worry about how you feel. Don't worry about your feelings. Worry about what you can do together. And I think that that's a huge part of collaboration. And the more that people collaborate, the more opportunities you create for yourself, like you've discovered.
Awesome. Well, man, I can't wait to graduate and then do another interview with you after August when I'm at DC. So, well,
I appreciate the opportunity too, man. I appreciate you sharing about missions and your Chiro career. And I do appreciate the questions too, man. And I appreciate everything that you're doing for yourself and for others. And is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to share with people today?
I think we're good, man. I just really appreciate the opportunity to get on here with you. Thanks a lot.
Well, let's share the dates again for the mission trip down there to Jamaica.
Okay, so for Jamaica, we have December 27th through January 1st. Now, we do have one coming up this April from April 20th to 26th. You can still get on. Just message me or Shannon Darrow or Dave Train, and we'll give you all the details on that. So.
Awesome, man. Well, I didn't want to have anybody that made it this far miss the opportunity to know their opportunities. Yes, but I want to say thank you to the crew over there at Zing It Solutions. You guys do a great job for supporting what we do, and we couldn't do it without you. So reach out to Steve Weber and his crew over there at Zing It Solutions and get automated with your communication. There's nothing better than to see people show up that you don't have to labor a phone call with. But with that being said, I'm going to close out and I'm going to tell you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. And thank you so much, Bennett. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.